Once upon a time there lived twin sisters who turned out to be worst enemies. They were not identical, but their names were Ella and Emilia. Right from when they were kids, they fought over everything that they ever came across. Their toys, clothes, shoes, and even the attention of their parents. Emilia at a point broke a glass cup on her twin sister's head when she realized that Ella had used her special cup to drink tea. Ella in return switched her twin sister shampoo with hair remover cream 2 days before her school culture dance performance. By the time they turned 14, the entire house had become a battlefield. Emilia once locked Ella outside in the rain for 3 hours. Ella responded by pouring paint into Emilia's school bag the night before her exams. Their parents, Mr. and Mrs. Adusu, were so exhausted. Every day was chaos, and nothing that they did to make their daughters love one another worked. One evening, the girls got into a brutal fight in their living room. It started with a slap and ended with broken plates, blood on the wall, and a fire incident from a candle that they knocked over whilst fighting. So, Mr. Adusu decided that it was high time to separate the twins. He sent Emilia to go live with her uncle in another city, leaving Ella alone in their home. The twins were so excited to finally be apart. They lived their separate lives happy and made new friends who did not constantly remind them of being twin. For the first time in their lives, they lived in peace. Emilia thrived Kumasi. Her uncle was so strict but kind. She was well disciplined, focused and ambitious. She joined her school science club and won a scholarship. Whilst her twin sister Ella, who was back in Accra, found peace in her own ways, she took up painting and dancing, hobbies that she had never been able to enjoy in the chaos of competing with her twin sister. Emilia. Her calm, confident spirit began to shine, and scholarship improved. But everything changed when the twins turned 25. Ella got married in Accra to a young man who she dated during her time in the university. Her sister Emilia did attend the wedding as Ella never wanted her around. She moved into her husband's house and got pregnant with child. Her husband James was a successful engineer who worked with a prestigious firm that handles high-end projects worldwide. He was kind, patient, and deeply in love with Ella. However, his work took him travel around the country, and Ella, now 7 months pregnant, often found herself alone in the house. She kept herself busy baby preparations, arranging the nursery and buying clothes for the baby who was due to be born in 2 months. One afternoon, her husband James returned from a trip with an announcement. "Babe," he said, rubbing her belly gently. "Guess what? The company is sending me to Kumasi for a month. It's a special project for one of our top clients and my services in particular." Ella's face dropped as she looked right at him. "So, you actually leaving me, right?" she asked her husband, who smiled and revealed to her that she was coming with him. "I've already booked our apartment by the stadium," he said to Ella, who could not hide excitement. All her life, she had never been to Kumasi. The thought of finally going filled her with so much excitement as she packed up her bags, ready to travel. A week later, they arrived at the luxurious Stadium View Hotel in Kumasi. It was everything James had promised: sleek, modern and peaceful, with balconies that opened to the stadium. For the first time in weeks, Ella felt alive again. Each morning, she stood on the balcony in her flowing maternity gown, watching the field, sipping cocktail as she hummed lullabies to the baby growing inside her stomach. Kumasi was so magical, and Ella was having the time of her life. She took a stroll around the streets and came across a salon in the corner. Ella walked into the salon to wash her hair. She sat on the chair waiting to get her hair washed when suddenly her husband walked into the same salon with another woman. Ella could not believe her eyes. She stood up and decided to approach them when she suddenly saw something that made her freeze on her feet. The strange woman standing with her husband was her twin sister Emilia. The same sister who she had not seen in over 10 years. Emilia now owned a company that was into smart houses. She was now based in Kumasi and had to work with James on the job that brought him to Kumasi. Ella stood there stunned, her swollen belly rising and falling with shaky breath. Of all the women in Kumasi, it had to be her twin sister, Emilia. Her eyes moved between her husband and her twin sister, and Ella did not know how to feel. Her 10 years really changed anything. She thought to herself as she looked at her sister, who also shocked as well to see her. James had always heard about her twin sister Emilia but never got the chance to meet her. James in that moment looked like a deer caught between two ravenous tigers. They didn't say a word but their silence in that moment spoke louder than words. Emilia smiled at her sister and reached out for a hug but Ella was too weary to fall for her tricks. She pulled her husband's hands and dragged him back to the hotel. "You can't possibly walk with my twin sister," she said to James, who told her that his client chose Emilia specifically to work on the project. "We were both handpicked by the client. There's no way we can change that now," James said carefully. "It's not personal, Ella. It's just work." But deep down, Ella felt the old warning signs. The same feeling she used to have whenever Emilia wanted. She remembered how Emilia once snatched her childhood best friend just because she called Ella her favorite twin. Or how Emilia flirted with her secondary school crush just to spite her. History she feared was about to repeat itself and Ella was not willing to let that happen. She pleaded with her husband to withdraw from the project, but reassured her that she had nothing to worry about and Ella decided to trust her husband knowing how much he loved her. Emilia, on the other hand, couldn't understand what was happening. She had never met James before in her life, but found herself connected to him. It was so strange to realize that he was her twin sister's husband. Emilia tried harder each time that she saw him. The late-night design reviews, the casual laughter over creating sketches, the way he calls her name, everything about him she could not control. At first, she kept her distance, doing everything within her power not to stir out her emotions, but the more that she was around him, the unbearable. So, one night they worked late at the project site. The lights were dim. The rain drizzling. James stood beside her, explaining a section in the structural design. Emilia wasn't paying attention. She was rather admiring his lips as he speaks. How his eyes lit up with passion, she didn't know when she reached out and touched his arm. He looked at her and in that look, something snapped. They kissed just once, but that kiss became the crack in the dam. From then, they could not stop. They began to meet in secret, in the office, in hotels, even inside Emilia's car parked in a quiet corner. It was wild, intense, and riddled with guilt to make excuse for what she was doing. She started believing that maybe fate had made a mistake, that she was the one meant to be with James. James had never felt anything yet. Emilia was bold, confident, everything that would draw him from her sister Ella. But Ella was quiet, emotional, and exhausted. And Emilia is always around James, made him feel alive. The relationship grew stronger. Weeks later, Ella returned back to Accra and was admitted at a hospital in Accra, in the labor room, screaming in pain and betrayal, and her husband James was in Kumasi, tangled in the sheets with her twin sister Emilia. When their mother tried to reach him on his phone, it was switched off. Ella gave birth to a lovely baby boy. But she was really hurt and in pain, not from the pain of childbirth, but from the piercing pain of abandonment. 3 days later, James returned back to Accra to find his wife rocking their baby to sleep. He felt so ashamed of himself, knowing that he wasn't there with her at the hospital, knowing that he was in the arms of her twin sister while his wife in labor. When Ella looked up at him, her eyes were blank. "I named him Mokafui," she whispered, rocking her baby slowly. "It means I will praise thee." James stood there frozen as guilt washed over him like a tidal wave. He stepped forward trying to speak, but she raised her hand. "Don't." He made excuses as to why he wasn't around. But Ella knew better than to believe him. She sat quietly perceiving the perfume of another woman on her husband while his lips lied at every word that comes out. Ella did not scream. She didn't accuse him. She stood up, placed baby Mokafui gently in the crib, and walked into the bathroom, then locked the door behind her, and leaned against it, finally letting the tears drop. Not because she was weak, but because she was finally done pretending she was not broken. Inside the bedroom, James sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the crib. The baby's small breath filled the room with a softness that he didn't deserve. A child who he had never held. He touched him for the first time and wondered what the hell he was doing, sleeping with his wife's twin sister. He picked up his phone determined to end things with Emilia when he heard a faint cry on the other end of the phone. What happened? Thank you for staying with me till the end of our mother's story. If this tale touched you, please subscribe, like, and share, so more echoes can reach the world. Until we meet again, remember, the echoes never end.